The only way that we saw that we could get into what was going on at Candor Diamond was to find somebody on the inside who was willing to talk with us. Everything was her fault. She had orchestrated it. She had this strange illness. She was dying. She had been embezzling. She needed money for a cancer operation in Europe, and just on and on and on. The number of things that he came up with as to why she was guilty of doing all of these terrible things to Candor Diamond, unbeknownst to him. Miss Wong had visited Miss Benson's apartment in Queens this evening. She had called her husband and told him that she was leaving and was going to be on her way home. It was approximately 7 o'clock in the evening. You start with the known and you keep adding the unknowns and you try to figure out how it fits. One of the first tasks was try to find out who was up on the parking lot that had access. You go through all of the applications, you look for vans. One of the detectives came up with a recent parking lot application of a van. Seemed to fit. License plate didn't seem quite right, and some of the information on there had been scratched out and redone. Through a little bit of forensics, you're able to raise the correct license plate number that was written down, then scratched out. This is real good. You're on your way, and you can feel yourself begin to say, okay, we've got that initial break. We're on the right track. And all of a sudden, the adrenaline starts pumping. You're feeling good. You're on the scent, and you're moving. And from there, you just begin to run that out as quickly and as thoroughly as you can. We found that that license plate had been spotted by an FBI surveillance team that was doing a surveillance on a meeting of some Genovese people in Queens. And we didn't know its relevance. I had 2 or 3 agents do a little research into our files, speak with their informants, speak with other people to find out if this woman who had been killed in any way was connected, girlfriend, wife, relative of the people that we had under investigation. The SS Rotterdam was moored on the west side of Manhattan, getting ready for a cruise. We were desperate to find any evidence at that point that would help us solve the crime. And we realized that there were a lot of people on that ship on deck with cameras, and we asked the passengers if they would share with us their videotapes and photographs to see if by chance we might have caught the murder on camera. It was front page on the New York Times, the New York Post, the Daily News. The director of the FBI was getting probably 3 or 4 telephone calls a day from the chairman of CBS wanting to know what the progress was. She was killed, along with 3 people who worked for CBS. We don't know who did it. We didn't understand exactly why the connection was there. Somebody killed this woman and the CBS employees. We had to find that person. We closed no doors. Everything was open for discussion. Each of you have a different part. You don't know how it fits together, but you think it does. And over time, you'll find out. We couldn't help her after she had been killed. The best thing we could do for her was find her killer. You don't mess with our witnesses. Not and get away with it. The pressure on the political end is increasing. Doesn't matter that it's a weekend, the calls keep coming. Chairman of CBS wants to know, when are you going to make an arrest? Police commissioner, when are you going to make an arrest? The media wants to know, when are you going to make an arrest? We put a team over there. They barely had set up, and all of a sudden they spotted him. Not the van, but they spotted him. And he was heading off with a friend, and surveillance began. We don't have nearly enough to arrest this man. We can't even pull him over unless he's speeding. But let's find out where he is. Let's make sure that he doesn't slip away. The black van doesn't have the plate on it it should. It's the wrong color. It's the wrong plate. Is it the right van? So flying down the interstate, with 2 cars on a van. It's probably the most important case that the FBI and the police department are working on in the last month, and you can't let him get away. We had no idea where he was taking us. We had no idea if we had the right van. We had no idea if we had the right man, and we couldn't let him go. My instructions were follow him until we can figure out how we can arrest him. Just don't let him go. Don't let him out of your sight. Well, let's find out if it is the right van. Let's look on the dashboard for the vehicle identification number. Now, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. The van's locked. Don't want to spoil anything in there anyway. So the surveillance agent takes a flashlight, shines it around. The next morning, the people back in New York are trying to figure out what else can we do to tie the van and this man to the murders themselves. Let's check all of the body shops in and around where he lives and see if they had done a job on a silver van making it black. Well, we could try to get a search warrant on his home to see if there's anything there that could tie it in. We don't have enough probable cause. So it's getting tougher and tougher. So we said we've got to find a way to see if we've got the right van. They said, realistically, you want us to put up a roadblock in the middle of an interstate highway, bring all commercial traffic to a screeching halt to see if you've got the right van. I said, yeah. Fortunately, they were friends of the FBI, and they said they'd give it a shot. We had tire impressions left at the crime scene where Miss Benson's body was left, and we matched the tires to that. We found boxes of ammunition unshot. We found in the van bits and pieces of hair, pieces of clothing, human blood. I sent 2 agents to begin to develop a search warrant based on evidence from the van and everything else we had for the house. We had no murder weapon. There was a small creek out behind Mr. Nash's house, and we thought there was a good chance that he may have thrown the gun into that creek. In the garage, we found black paint, some tape, some newspapers that had black paint on it, black paint spray cans. It was on the walls, and it was in a perfect rectangle. Looked like about the size of a van. How's it going? You can put the man in custody at the scene of the crime. You can put his vehicle there. You can put blood and hair from the crime scene in his van. So you can tie him to the van and the van to the killing. That's good. You're still not there, but it's looking better. It's looking a whole lot better. It was as muddy as the Mississippi, and you could not see your hand in front of your face, so it became a groping along the bottom. Finally, he caved in and admitted that he was the one who arranged the meeting between himself and this hitman, and was the go-between between Erwin Margolis and the hitman.
I understand.
He felt that Miss Wong was the weaker of the 2 women, and if anyone would be cooperating, it would have been her. So I think, in theory, we believe that he had her killed first, believing that she probably was, even though he had no reason to accurately identify that she had met with the FBI. Best we could figure is the blanket was thrown over her head, gun put to her head, and she was shot once, killed. Margolis was a paranoid man, and unfortunately for Miss Benson and the FBI, apparently the private investigator saw her go to a meeting with an FBI agent. While he's in jail awaiting trial, through one of the other prisoners, he starts looking for a hitman. He wants to kill the prosecutor. and the fellow at the bank who initially turned the matter over to the FBI. So we thoughtfully learn about this through a jailhouse informant, and an FBI agent posing as a hitman meets with him as a visitor, and he lays out the deal of how he wants these people killed and what he's willing to pay for it. And the tape recording is wonderful. So if he's willing to pay to kill them, we're pretty sure he's willing to pay to kill the other two women. This was an abusive, aggressive, paranoid man who was ruthless in his business dealings. He just wouldn't broach any challenge to his decisions, his authorities, and the way he wanted things done. Didn't matter if it was illegal. Didn't matter if it was immoral. Didn't matter if it was putting anybody else's life in danger. It made no difference.